So the other day, a couple of days ago, I did this post where she said, I made dinner for only myself. It was posted in the 2X chromosome subreddit. So she said, since moving in with my boyfriend, I have somehow become the only one doing kitchen duty. Well, most duties, actually. I do all the laundry. I take the trash out to the bins. I do all the cleaning in the bathroom. I dust the furniture. Then the kitchen duties. I do all the grocery shopping. I make the menu. I do all the cooking and then do the dishes and clean the sink and counters. I feed and water the cats and dogs. The cats are his. He does lawn duty. We live in a condo with a 20 square foot yard, and half of it is covered in concrete. And then he Swiffers the floor a couple of times a week. Everything else is on me. We both work full time and split the bills evenly. And I actually work more than him. He works 4 10-hour shifts a week, and I work 6 8-hour shifts. So it got to the point where she was fed up. She is tired of doing everything. But what really put the nail in the coffin is that he had time off. He had to take PTO, and he basically sat around while she worked her normal, what she said, 6 to 2, and she came home, and then he asked, what was she going to make for lunch? He couldn't cook at all for himself. So at this particular point, she's stressed. He's asking her what's for dinner at dinner time. And then he goes into the bedroom. He's playing video games. She cooks for herself, cleans up the kitchen, and just sits there like she hasn't eaten. He comes out after playing video games for some hours, wondering, are you still going to make burgers? And she's like, no, I'm not feeling too well. And she does not let him know that she actually cooked. The person at the bottom says, is this rage bait? Because I'm enraged. I was also enraged. Lots of people were enraged, and people were asking for an update. So here is a comment from the OP on the original post. She was saying that he lived alone and he was renting a much bigger house than our condo. It was always clean and in good shape. Maybe not as clean as I prefer it to keep it, but just small things like dust bunnies and letting the trash overfill before taking it out. And he cooked too. And he's very good at cooking. It pisses me off so much. So he was doing these things for himself before she moved in. And then somebody asked her if she told him or why she didn't tell him that she had her own burger already. And she said, I didn't tell him that I had already ate because I didn't want to fight with him. He has been getting angry and annoyed all week because I haven't been making him lunch when I get home from work. Called me petty, LOL. And I was just so over it and down that I was trying to prevent it. And also there was a part of me that hoped he would start to cook for me if he thought I hadn't eaten and needed it. Obviously, that didn't happen. Now, let's get into the update. All right, here's the update. She says, hi, had many people ask for an update to my original post in the comments and in the direct messages, so here goes. Sunday, my boyfriend and I had a lengthy discussion about household inequality. I once again stressed with him how overworked I was, that I was losing attraction to him, and that I was rethinking a future because being his mom was never something I wanted to do. My boyfriend finally seemed to get that this was a make it or break it situation. He confided that he enjoyed it being spoiled by me and apologized for taking advantage. He cried over the thought of losing me. He promised to do more without asking and even swore to start putting together a chore, maybe a chore list. On this morning, my boyfriend and I were getting ready for work, and he asked me if I would be okay making dinner tonight because he was planning on mowing and weeding after work. I agreed, although I was thinking that he should have mowed this weekend, especially since for the last 4 days, he said, I'm going to mow tonight, but it needs done, so whatever. Then he made a comment about how it makes sense for you to make dinner most days anyway. I asked why he figured that, and his reasoning was that I get off work earlier. I just kind of laughed it off and asked if he means he will be on dinner and dishes his 3 days off. And he made some kind of remark about it being nice if he could have 1 day free to himself and his hobby, Saturday, that can keep him out late. This really pissed me off because who got off work earlier didn't matter when I worked the second shift last month and he gets home before 5:30. So it's not like he couldn't relax for an hour or so before cooking, and I will never have a free day to myself. Plus, since moving in together, anytime we argue about him not contributing, his reasoning is I get off work earlier, not taking into account that I work 2 days more than him. It was obvious then that he hadn't really learned anything. So I told him so and started crying because that's when I realized I was done and it was over. I didn't want to have that conversation right before going to work. So tonight I'll be officially ending our relationship. So I've been pretty useless at work today, making phone calls and preparing my next move. I sent an email to my old boss. I'm sure they have to see if they have any positions open. He would be glad to have me back. And a friend has been nice enough to offer me her spare room until my boyfriend's lease runs out. Unfortunately, my landlord was not willing to remove me from the lease because he doesn't think my boyfriend can pay for himself. So I'm just preparing to send him half of the rent until February. But as soon as I have employment lined up back home, I'll be moving out. Until then, I'm cool sleeping on an air mattress in our spare room. I am very sad. I loved him, still do. This is my first time moving in with a boyfriend, and I thought I did everything right. Like, we didn't rush, waited a year and 10 months to take this step and made sure he could take care of his without me, but it still ended up this way. And this is just for the people that think that people don't, or these men don't bait and switch, that they don't do a change up. They really do. And it's tiresome. And they really believe that having a peen means that they get some kind of servant. And that does become tiresome because women, we are not put here to serve these men. We are more than just a servant, especially since most of us have to work as well. Okay, so that was her update, and I'm glad that I was able to bring that. I found that. Let's look at some of these comments. M. Leak says, well, someday you'll be grateful to him for making it so brutally clear that he didn't intend to change a damn thing. The painful cluelessness of moping about one day to himself and still not realizing that was him informing you that you never get a day off of caring for him. His time was his and your time was his. Congrats on making a tough and quick exit. And don't be too hard on yourself. You learned that he could take care of his without you, but once he had acquired your services, he chose not to. You can't perfectly protect against someone who has made that choice. Give yourself all the permission in the world to be angry with him. He was always capable. He made a choice in how he treated you. And thermodynamo honed in on this part. His time was his and your time was his. And they said, oh, damn, you are right. I hate that so much for the OP. She's about to be so much happier without him. And then M. Leak says, yes, for all the men that whine about being treated like a wallet, often while declaring good job, their good job is the primary reason they're such a catch. There are a half a dozen women out there being treated like a service animal that feeds and walks itself, always on the clock, always on call. Which is not quite far since many people with service animals work very hard to give them rest and leisure. Yeah, this woman is just a mule, an overworked mule. Grace of the North says, this seems to be the common thread through most male to female relationships, their constant entitlement to women's free labor. And it's not even just relationships. It's at jobs, it's at your church, is in families with the oldest daughter. It's, that if you are a woman, if you're a person with a uterus, you're expected to just give your free labor. Xanax Warrior Princess honed in on you learned that he could take care of his ish without you, but once he had acquired your services, he chose not to. She says this, he chose not to contribute equally. The second you gave in a little, he reached for more. When you are a giver, takers will continue to take. Takers will not decide that, this is unequal and stop. They will take and take and take until you're out of stuff or until you walk away. All right. Join the conversation. Let me know what you think about this. Don't forget to like, comment,